Namaste. Welcome. So what is the healthy path to take when awakening the Kundalini is knocking, or you entertain that certain part of your practice? Alright. More than the health and wellness benefit to serve our own wellness and being, but most importantly, how we could use this extra sensitivity in the future to promote a higher calling, maybe a service, but really for better understanding, to promote the good of the community. Because it's really very beautiful. And if only we could translate the realizations to something which promotes really better understanding amongst every one of us. I would really encourage everyone to do this, but of course the process is not for everyone because there are some limitations involved. There are some limitations that we might be facing, we might be suffering from. So with this, maybe I could give you a little bit of that insight as well. Alright, 3 things for me. Number 1, gaining structural strength. When I say structural strength or integrity, I mean both the external and the internal dynamics of the body. By practicing elements which promote strength and power of the physical, internal cleansing through breath regulation, most importantly, the development of our energy blocks. Or the bandhas, because those components you will be using first to allow the energy to flow out, then direct the energy to do some internal cleansing as well, and finally later on to lift that energy higher safely, because literally the energy has a rising behavior, and if the energy locks and the internal body, they are not ready to absorb and to manage this energetic flow, it could mean danger. Alright, it could affect or it could cause permanent damage to the vital organs and the nervous system. Alright, number 2, guidance. Alright, this is relative. Some people may not need a teacher. I didn't have a teacher actually, but I didn't know it was happening already to me back then, but maybe I was just lucky. Maybe it's meant to happen because I was enjoying the elements, and luckily I was tackling the elements based on the order which agrees to the development of the energy, because Kundalini energy it develops in stages, and then we need to practice elements which agree to that particular stage of its development. Alright, so we don't want to be mixing our elements. We don't want to be practicing components which are inconsistent, incoherent, and really do not agree with the present stage of your development. Otherwise, your body will get confused, your nervous system will get confused, and then totally you will miss the point. Alright? And it's so difficult to retrain. You know what I mean? It's so difficult to come back because you would have developed a certain pattern already which doesn't agree with how the energy should be developed. So it would be very advisable and ideal if the calling is there already to consult a teacher who's been through the process many times, because only the teacher would be able to guide you and write your program so you can go through it safely, progressively, and sanely. And last but not the least, which is most important, is the purity of the heart and purity of the intention and a healthy, sound nervous system. Let me talk about this first. Any clinical conditions, neurological conditions, psychological imbalance, if you have those things, yes, definitely the teacher would tell you if you're ready or not. But for example, you know that you have those conditions, I would recommend no, don't take it, because later on, since the energy has this inherent way of rising up, and literally the process would lead to that point where you have to lift that electricity inside the brain, it may make your issues worse. Alright, now what happens then if you're able to lift that energy up to your brain? So what happens then? That's where this aspect of the practice would come into the picture. It all ends here. Alright, so you will realize many beautiful things as you meditate. Alright, because the meditation is really very, very, very intense. Alright, really very intense. So this is when the awakening becomes more of a burden if you do not know how to let go. Right? Because it's so pleasurable. But when you meditate, somehow you have to stop the body. Yeah, literally you have to stop the body and then just use the awareness you gain inside to actually lift the energy up, which entails separation of the body from the breath, really, literally, and the breath would have to detach, or not really the breath, but the energy would have to detach itself out of the breath, so they really separate using the locks inside to lift and draw the electricity up. And then you will realize many beautiful things when you meditate. But after that, what do you do now with your realizations? Yeah? So all of this would have to end here. And then we translate the realizations to something that serve and promote the wellness, not just of our own being, but also something which promotes the good of the community. Alright, Kundalini Awakening could be a tool for abuse. And if, for example, we've gained this gift, of this extra sensitivity, it's our task to use it for the good of the many and not use it to take advantage of the people around us, especially the weak, because the process is really very enticing, and there will be so many out there who would seek your guidance. And yes, you don't want to be using that, I would say, ability and extra sensitivity to take advantage of these people. And of course, the community in general. Alright, so at the end of it, after all the physicality of the process, it all ends here. It's not easy. As you go through it, you will be faced with many physical pains, discomfort, emotional struggles, spiritual struggles, that we don't want to be fighting the process, but invoking the spirituality of it, where in fact, inside, we cannot accept our weakness. So we use the spirituality of it to justify our own weakness, which makes the process even worse. Right? So acceptance, openness, willingness to detach, and then promoting the realization and sharing it to the rest of the community. Good. So yes, that's the process. Not just the process doesn't end with having it. The process actually ends by sharing it. See you in the next tutorial. Namaste.